Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is obviously one of them. I also have a Facebook group, and I would love to have you join me there. We can be found at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm also super pumped because I just released my first book. It's called SOAR, SOAR, and it is on Amazon, and it's an experiential spiritual journey through a very transformative life event and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. I'm also a spiritual life coach, and I work with individuals, and I do group coaching as well. I am super pumped that on today's show, I have with me Jessie Harris Boughton. Hi, Jessie.
Hey, Miss Pam. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such an honor to have you here. Jessie has an amazing story to share with us today. She is used to living life in the fast lane. She is a former race car driver and is now a mom of 5 and runs her business called Millionaire Mompreneur. So I'm super pumped to hear all about her story today and have her share her immense wisdom with you all today. But first, I'd like to start every show off with the same question. And that question is, what does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
Oh, this is so good because I will tell you, first and foremost, I don't think I was someone that lived authentically for over 30 years of my life, which is why I'm so passionate about this question. For me, one of the things that I've learned in the last, I'd say probably 7 years since I've really gone through my total life transformation, more or less, is that we have to stop letting the world run us and we have to run ourselves first. Tap into, whatever power source feels right for you. Guys, you can't see me right now if you're listening to the podcast, but I have my little 8-month-old with me and he's about eating my face off.
Adorable.
It was so wonderful. She's like, nope, that's fine. This is just real life. So, but it's really, I have 5 kids. I actually have 3 businesses and employ 15 people at one, 5 at another. And just life can really start me off, 4:30 in the morning, my alarm goes off and notifications on the phone or the toys on the floor or, the employee calling in. And I really guard my time in the morning early. It could be anywhere from an hour to 2 to 3 that I just have for myself and my husband and for me, my spiritual God time. But that's how I'm able to live authentically and ultimately let go of things that I've allowed to hold me back in the past. A lot of times, just seeing other people's opinions on social media can drag me down, even if it has nothing to do with me, right? I always say you can catch a mood. And that's been something that's been happening a little bit lately. There's a lot of negativity on the news and on social media. And so if I tap into that too much, I don't live authentically because I allow myself to follow their lead, right? So I could give you 39 different examples, but really it's just that time for me to be present in what's important.
He has something he wants to say about living authentically too.
Evidently, I just got done telling you that he doesn't really talk too much. That's a fat lie today.
All good. And for our viewers, we'll hear Jessie's story during the show, but she is truly doing it all. And she's multitasking and she's doing a million things all at once. And I think it's just so amazing. And I cannot wait to hear your story. I love how you just kind of flow with it. It's like, this is how we roll, your mom and, you're integrating that into what you're doing now, the podcast. So I love how you're just flowing with the direction life is taking you. So let's dive into your story on a more granular level. I'm super intrigued by your background. I want to get to where you are today. I don't even know how should I address you, super mom, or what amazing title can I give you? I think it's amazing what you're doing, especially after, I went through all the stages of motherhood. My kids are, I have 4 kids between 9 and 16 now, so they're a little bit older than yours, but I remember those days so well when I was nursing, the kids were little, and I felt so accomplished if I could get out of my pajamas by noon. And that was pretty much it for the day. That was about my expectation for myself. So I'm looking at you going, oh my gosh, 3 businesses and, you're just thriving and just crushing it in so many different areas. You have 5 kids. I would love to hear how you do it. But first, let's rewind. I'd like to hear about your story. Former race car driver. We can start there. We can start prior to that. But I love to hear the chronology. of what brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, it's great. And it's all going to play really well into what I joke about on how I'm able to more or less thrive through this crazy season. And, I'm going to give some actionable tips here for your listeners today. So I really hope you guys are happy to just listen to I'll do the super brief overview of, the whole history of how I got here. But it's important because it does all play a role, right? I say a lot of times that we are a product of our experiences and our circumstances, and we have a choice. And at one point in my life, I made choices that did not have me living a good life. I was truly just surviving over thriving. But because I experienced that, it's allowed me to get to a place where I realized that I no longer wanted to live like that, right? So, I'm a girl who grew up in upstate New York, an only child for most of my life. I have baby sisters, 12 and 15 years younger than me. So they were definitely like my first kids. I joke all the time. But I lost my dad young. I was 11 years old when my father unexpectedly passed away. And I think it somewhat subconsciously kind of set me up for, feeling lost and alone a lot of the time. My mother was amazing through it all, but I also felt like I needed to help take care of her. So I grew up young, she was going through a lot of that. And then life just starts going on. You get into your teen years and you don't feel like you have a place sometimes, at least in mine, I didn't. I was friends with everybody, which actually meant I was friends with no one, which is funny. I'll mention that probably later in the marketing. I joke how if you try to help everyone and not one specific niche person, you end up helping no one. But it was truly that thing. I still felt like I didn't have a place. And so I didn't really probably give my all to everything. I would try to, be good at sports, but at the same time, I was focused on, but am I even good enough to be here? And so on. And I tell you that because then as I graduated high school, feeling kind of defeated because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I couldn't really afford college and I didn't have any help to put me through college. So I just took some side classes, but I knew I always wanted to be two things in life. You know how they ask you as a kid, what do you want to be? Well, I always said a mom and a professional race car driver. And I loved the idea of racing because yes, it sounds cool, right? I drove 300-mile-per-hour race cars, 5Gs off the start line in front of fans as large as 40,000 people. But what I loved most is that it gave me a platform to inspire people to go out and chase their dreams. And I was missing that growing up. I didn't have that person that kind of gave me some simple systems and simple tips. It all felt very dreamy, right? And so I spent 5 years traveling the Northeast, volunteering my time at different events and shaking hands and handing out resumes, begging for somebody to give me an opportunity to drive. I spent over $60,000 in those 5 years. But I finally landed an opportunity. One person, not the person that I wanted to give me the opportunity to drive. To be honest, there's lots of teams out there. It wasn't my number one team, but I got the opportunity to try out to drive for this team. And it was funny. I was kind of complaining about it. And my mom and my stepdad at the time said, listen, babe, and I'm paraphrasing now. This is a quote I use all the time. This isn't exactly what it said, or what they said, but it's very similar. They said, when you get the opportunity to have a seat on a rocket ship, you don't ask one seat. You just get on and shut your mouth, right? And that was something for me that was quite like, oh, I can't expect to hit a home run on, the first bat. So take this opportunity to drive for this team, use it as a stepping stone, and we'll go from there. And long story short is because I had such a long past of feeling not good enough and I felt like I never really gave my all to anything, my boss at the time for this car, he's like, if you won't bring 100% to this car, number one, I don't want you. Number two, you need to know that this car has the power to kill you. So you have to have 100% belief that you can do the job, not just get to the finish line safely, but get to the finish line as the winner. And you have to show up with that effort as well. And those are really the only two things we have control over, guys, in life, belief and effort. Okay. And so it was a really great pep talk for me. And I really believed him and trusted him that like this car could kill me. And honestly, over the 5 years that I drove it, it killed other people that I was friends with. So I really did understand the gravity of that. But because of that amazing 30-second pep talk, that's what I showed up as. I was like, okay, I need to be prepared for engine explosions and chute failures. And of course, there was a lot of training that went along with it to get to the point where I felt prepared for that. But after about 6 months, I went to my first race, and in front of 40,000 fans against all other people 20 years more experience on me, all men who wouldn't shake my hand at the driver's meeting. I ended up winning that event, my very first event. And I ended up winning out of the next 5 years with that team. We together became the number one team in our division. We won over 650 races. I only lost one in all of those years. And yes, I think I had the great mindset. I also had a great team and a great car and so on. But I say that because where we're going to kind of get to with more of what I teach now behind the scenes with branding, marketing, and sales as a business coach is it's all about systems. And so I have systems in my life and systems in my business. And it's because I believe that systems simplify processes, and processes are the pathway to power. And so yes, a lot of times I fly by the seat of my pants and I'm rolling with the fact that the babysitter was unable to come today, which is why my little one, Lorenzo, is here with me for this interview. But, for the most part, I still do have systems, and then I just don't let those things weigh me down. I say I have a choice right now. I can either be mad and cancel my interviews and my trainings, or I can figure it out, right? Because that's what we as women and moms do. We always figure it out.
Right. I love that. So take me then from that point then, how did you transition from being a race car driver and being in that, excelling in that environment to where you are today? What was was there an aha moment? Was there a catalyst for a shift in what you're doing?
Oh, there was quite a few, my friend. Yeah, it's funny because by default, I'm somebody who's kind of negative and gets a little down on herself and falls into that, depression. And so for me, I decided I retired as the winningest driver. Actually, now 15 years later, still hold the title as the winningest driver in that division for 15 years, both male and female. And, that's fantastic. But it was tough. I decided to retire because I always wanted to be a mom. I was 27. I was getting married. And I watched other women chase dreams in the drag racing world, where then they ended up getting divorced and never having kids, and they were in their 40s and starting over. And I didn't want that either. I wasn't willing to chase one dream so hard that I let go of my others. And I see that as a blessing. So for me, I retired, I got married, got pregnant with my first kid, then second kid. We had my husband's physical therapy clinic, which I came in a year after he had started that and really helped him build it up. Working behind the scenes when I was racing, pitching Fortune 500 companies, multi-million-dollar contracts, because that's what it costs to drive my race cars. We didn't have that, right? We had to get corporate sponsorship to do that. So it worked out really great. I had a lot of experience in marketing. And so I was able to apply that to our physical therapy clinic, and it was growing, oh my gosh, so quickly, from just my husband to 5 therapists and a support staff of 10. And it was amazing, but it was my husband's dream. And I was kind of feeling lost amongst all the titles of wife and mom and business owner and, good daughter and good sister and good friend. And I was depressed. I forgot about how important belief in action was. And I just started going through the motions of it all. And I really did get lost, though, in the motions of it all. And I had an aha moment for me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the book, A Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. It's a great book. And actually, at the time of this really kind of feeling lost and depressed, 2 kids in, I was crying downstairs in my basement, like, God, help me. And I hadn't asked for his help in over 20 years since my dad died. And I said, I'm getting emotional talking about it, Pam. I'm sorry. But, I just said to him, I know I've turned you away for a lot of years, but I'm in a place where I don't know why I'm here on this earth, and if I want to be anymore, and I need your help. And that book fell off the bookshelf and hit me in the head. I've never read a book before in my life. My husband and I both don't even know where that book came from. Somebody must have gifted it to us, and we don't remember. There was no inscription in it. I do not know. And when that book hit me, I was like, oh, I just asked you to help me. This has got to be a sign. And I opened it up. And again, I'm probably paraphrasing here, but the line I read halfway through chapter 1, it was just that happened to be the page that I opened it to, said something along the lines of like, listen, just because you feel like you've already done everything you set out to do doesn't mean you can't reinvent your life. And because I was like, okay, I'm 30 years old. I've already been a race car driver. I'm a mom. Like, what else is left for me? And I realized I could dream more. And so I literally, of course, devoured that whole book the next day and took from it again that same belief and effort that I was talking about earlier. And I realized that I really didn't have the life that I wanted because of my choices. So I decided to go after, something new. I didn't know what it was at the time, just something new. And so I started getting up at 4:30 in the morning to work out, and I would have coffee and breakfast with my husband. And I just kind of felt like I was taking back control instead of like being steered right by the ship or letting the waves knock my boat around. I just finally felt like I was captaining the ship. And it's funny, I lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks that I couldn't lose for a year. My husband and I were probably in such a grave place. We hadn't uttered the words divorce, but we both knew we were heading that way. And we were confused and mad at each other. And 6 weeks, 6 weeks, I felt like I was in love like a kid again. I lost that 20 pounds. I felt like God had my back every day. I'd probably read 5 personal development books and more in that time. And I decided in that 6th week to become a certified life coach. And it was really all God led. It was very much like, hey, you've got something going here. And if you don't keep yourself accountable, you're going to lose it. So because I know me and I like shortcuts and I only go all in for short spurts of time, I decided that if I had to keep other people accountable, it would force me to keep myself accountable. So it was kind of like a little hack, becoming a life coach. And from there, I found a network marketing company that kind of helped me with my personal fitness goals, and joined that network marketing company at the same time as kind of suggesting that I could help people in my life coaching business, never really knowing I was going to grow a full-fledged business. But it kind of spiraled out of control. And I a lot of times tell that story of that I had success, but I want to remind people that I truly believe it's because I just went all in, not caring anymore about the past, deciding that I was here and I was going to give 100% belief and effort to all of these things that were important to me. And I'm going to say, I was not driven by building a business. I was driven by helping other women who were moms not fall victim to the same things that I had, where I felt like I had no meaning in life anymore, where I felt like I had no purpose. And when I let that be the driving force, the money was a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really has been a turning point. That was that was before my 3rd baby, and he just turned 5. So I think that was I was 6 years ago. Gosh, time goes so fast. But it's 6 years that I've gone all in on just showing up for what I want, right? Because we all have this great power in our life. The problem is a lot of times we choose to use that power to hold us back or to tear us down. I now choose to use that power no matter how scary it is, no matter how much anxiety it gives me, to go all in on that thing that I want, because even if I fail, at least I'll have no regrets. And that was something I lived with for a long time in my life before, was regrets. And that hurt worse than failing to me.
Wow. Such an amazing story. I would love to dig a little deeper too about, you said you had 2 kids when you decided, you wanted to, pursue your purpose. You were feeling like you wanted something more. Did you have any fears at that time? Because I know, again, thinking back to myself, I felt like I knew I wanted something more. I was craving something more, but I was overwhelmed and I felt like, how am I going to layer more on? So were there fears and anxieties and, and doubts when you were stepping into this new reality?
Absolutely. Not only in that time, but then again, because by default, that's who I am, they continue to, bud their ugly head, and even still do today. The difference is I just have a personal plan in place that I see it. I'm very aware of it. And I say, okay, you have a choice right now. What are you going to pick? To see the problem or to see the opportunity here? There's always, right, an opportunity in every problem. And that's something that's been game changing for me. But, you know, when I was at that first place there, I realized that if I allowed myself to continue to be, run by the waves of all the other things, which for me was, I had a lot of my community. I was volunteering, the church, people that just were like, they didn't mean it. I allowed them to do it. I literally tell people now, even in business, when you're marketing, you teach people how to treat you, right? Therefore, you need to be doing things a certain way. It was the same thing back then. I taught people how to treat me. I taught them that I would drop everything for them. I taught them that, I would never say no. And I taught them that, they could tell me, I don't know if that's such a good idea. And I would listen to them. And I had to be willing to, say things. I love my mother, and I would have this conversation if she's sitting here. We've had it before, but I had to say things like, Mom, what you're saying to me right now is intimidating me. And because I love you and trust you, it's going to take me down a path that is not going to serve me. And so you and I have to stop this conversation right here. Do you know how scary that was to say to my mom? I would never, listen, I had the wooden spoon shown to me a few times back in the day, right? And so I just, God told me that if you don't stand up for yourself with every person in your life, you're going to continue to go down that path and be unhappy, because that's what's steering you. So that's a personal system, right? I knew that I would never have the courage to do that on repeat if I didn't have a support system. So I had the conversation with my husband that said, like, babe, I'm going to need your help. I might have to say, you need to talk to this person when they ask if I can volunteer at the church, and say, you know what? We're a little busy with our 400 kids right now. Make the excuse for me if I'm struggling, or give me that boost in my ear when I have to talk to my mom, like, okay, you got this, right?
Right.
Or tapping back into what we opened up this episode with, my personal morning time that allows me to live authentically in who I want to be. And gosh, I'm going to thank you right now, you, Pam, and all of you listening, for allowing me to bounce all over the place. One thing that has really stood out to me over the years was I used to get caught up in how was I going to do this or do that and achieve it. And a mentor of mine, Tony Robbins, had said a long time ago that, all success is 90% psychology and 10% mechanics. And what he meant by that is 10% mechanics is the how you do something. Psychology is what you believe, right? And for me, the way I interpret that is you need to become who you need to be to actually achieve that thing. And when you do, you will very often have that elusive next step of the how be revealed. And for me, that was what worked for me, all those 6 years ago now, when I finally stepped up. I was like, okay, how does a woman who weighs 20 pounds less show up? Well, she doesn't let the scale run her anymore. She shows up just eating more healthy and making better choices on the daily because it's important to her. And in my case, because my father dropped dead at 36 years old. I'm 37 right now. Let me tell you about that emotional problem last year, right? Surpassing my father's age. And when I showed up as that woman who deserved to lose 20 pounds, I did in 6 weeks, right? When I stopped complaining to my husband and having conversations with him, I showed up as who I wanted to be with him, not an annoying nag, which he used to call me, but as a wife who deserved respect and a husband who deserved respect, right? As who I needed to be. The how just kind of led itself. And all of a sudden we started having nightly 5-minute check-ins and morning coffee together instead of just being passing ships, right? We showed up as who we needed to be, and the how just revealed itself. And that same thing has happened for me in business. I never really knew how I would build a millionaire mompreneur brand in online and offline, and now help others do it. But I decided a long time ago that I couldn't treat my business like a hobby business anymore, or even as just a job. What I found for me was 6 figures didn't change my life enough. 6 figures had me being a slave. I was working too many hours and, not thinking outside of the box as a millionaire does. I was trading time for money. I was literally on the phone with one-on-one clients 60 hours a week and capped my salary. I was unhappy, right? Living my dream, but unhappy. So you can kind of see here how even still, once I grew my business, I had that valley again where I was unhappy and ready to quit and give up. And then I said, how does a millionaire mompreneur show up? And this was long before I ever created the brand or trademarked it. I just knew that, man, 6 figures wasn't cutting it, and neither was all of the craziness that was going into it. So what did I need to do? Like, how could I think like a millionaire does and step up my game? And then I realized I needed to stop trading time for money. I needed to offer more group coaching. I needed to up my rates and so on. And all of a sudden, I went from working 60 plus hours, barely making $5,000 a month at this particular time I'm talking about, to working just 20 hours a week, doing less better, making $30,000 in 30 days. I say that just to let you know that there is a better way, right? People like Pam are bringing you a better way to live your life and go out and chase your dreams, whether it's through her offerings or the people she brings on her podcast and all of the other areas. That's what I teach my women: branding, marketing, and sales systems that will allow you to stop trading time for money, do less better, right? On your terms. I don't want to work these crazy hours. I have these beautiful babies waiting for me, but I love what I do and I don't want to not do it.
Right. And I'll echo that too. It's and you're so right. It's all about alignment, right? It's about staying aligned with who we are and anchored on our purpose and what feels authentic to us. And it's less about, I mean, yes, of course, effort needs to be part of the equation. Hard work needs to be part of the equation. But what I think we grow up in this culture with this mentality of having to slay and sacrifice and work hard and just and live to work. And that's just not the pathway to living in a scenario of abundance, of money and peace and love and happiness, all of the things that we want. I mean, the pathway really is through alignment, right? It's aligning who we are and aligning with who we are and connecting with the essence of who we are and staying true to that, staying anchored on that. Like you mentioned, the morning routine, anchoring on that in the morning. And then I would like to also echo a really important point that you brought up, having the conversations, right? Having the hard conversations with your mom, with your husband, learning to, find your voice is part of my slogan, find your voice, speak your truth, live authentically. Yes. Finding your voice and being able to speak it and letting other people know. And there's an art in that communication. And it's not, you're not being pushy, you're not being selfish, you're not being aggressive. There's an art in that, having those conversations, letting people know what you need. And the more we do that, the more we can step into our authenticity. And then we give other people too the opportunity to step in and help us, right? Other people want to help us and step in and support us, but sometimes they don't know how because we haven't articulated what we need. So I would like to echo that's such an important point, to communicate to others what we need and what their role can be in delivering that to us.
Yeah. And even the fact that your listeners are here today, right? What happens when we start to make these choices is we start to make choices to listen to certain podcasts and read certain books and watch certain shows or documentaries, etc. I'm used to be a junkie on TV, and I haven't watched TV in 6 years. I might watch one show, This Is Us. Somebody got me onto that, This Is Us, a long time ago. But you will realize that you'll start to align yourself with people that want to help you live the life that you most want to live, more in tune with your dreams. And so, I talk about my mentor, Tony Robbins. The man's never met me, right? But I view myself as putting myself in alignment with him and how he lives. And so many, countless others, right? You and I are people who we together, being in proximity, are powerful because we believe in the same thing. We're lifting one another up by having each other on podcasts, etc. I can't wait to get your book. I can't wait to recommend it to my audience. But that's because I have chosen choices along the way that have aligned you and I. You and I didn't go out and search for one another. We found one another. And that's what happens when you start to make choices like what you're teaching, Pam.
Thank you. And I so firmly believe in that as well, is if we just show up as our authentic selves every day, we magnetize the things that are meant for us, right? We don't have to go out and search for them. We don't have to go out and hunt them down. Yes, we have to be present. We have to show up, but those things will find us. And there's an organicness and there's an ease when you're living from that place of alignment. And, life it just feels differently. And I'd like to echo something else that's really powerful that what you said is, you didn't go into business, chasing the money, right? I mean, yes, money, you said money is a byproduct of what you're doing. It's about helping others. It's about serving. And I really would like to highlight that. And, I speak about this all the time that, it never works out well when we're doing something based on ego-based ideas, right? When we're going after something for the money or for the fame or the popularity or, the status or whatever it is. Those are all ego-based ideas. And I'm not saying it with judgment. Those are all some nice perks that go along with, our hard work and our success. But when that's the focus, that doesn't last forever. That's not sustainable, right? Our success isn't sustainable when we're pursuing it that way. But when we come at things from a soul-based perspective, from a soul-based approach, when we're chasing or when we're coming at it, when we're backing it with the energy of kindness and benevolence and service, right? It's a very different energy than work, right? That's serving others, that's stepping into that place of humanitarianism, helping others. I mean, the universe will always conspire with us. It will always put the right people in our path at the right time when we're making that heart-centered, soul-based decision day after day.
Amen. It's so true. And of course, I want more, like I joke, I want more meaning, money, and freedom in my life. And that's what the women that I work with want as well. So of course, I'm happy that the byproduct ends up being, very good money, but it's only so that I can end up putting it back into it, right? So yes, I can live a life more into my dreams, but holy moly, we're starting a foundation. I couldn't do that on my own without that type of, what it costs to start a foundation, friends that are listeners? A lot of money, to the tune of almost $100,000 just to start it for what we want to do over here. And what I have learned is also, like, I teach organic marketing methods. So any of you who are here and you have a business and you are looking to grow it, it's my passion to teach people organic marketing methods. It doesn't mean that paid ads, etc., don't work. They do, but I like to teach organic methods first. Then you can put a lot of effort behind what's working with paid ads, right? So that being said, is what I've learned is the best marketing tool ever is word of mouth. And so when you're leading with that passion to help others achieve whatever it is they want, whether it's increased pleasure or decreased pain, you very naturally have those people spreading their love for you to others. And that's just the number one best way to organically market and grow your business, right? And you talked about magnetizing. Yeah. Again, we want people, how are they going to choose to align themselves with you over hundreds or thousands of other people that do the same thing, right? People do the same thing as you and I, Pam, hundreds, thousands, but they choose you and I over the way we show up, and we magnetize some people. Some people are like, oh my gosh, she gets me. I love her, this or that, blah, 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 because we're showing up uniquely as ourselves. And there's other people that are absolutely repelled that I would be on here with my kid in the background, or that I would be nursing on a live video, or that one time I say bad words sometimes, guys. Good moms say bad words, but some people would like that and they will instantly be repelled from me. Cool. I don't need everyone to be my customer, right? I don't want to be everyone's cup of tea, because if I'm everyone's cup of tea, then I'm no one's cup of tea. And that is the number one way that you can grow anything that you're doing, is living authentically with who you are most meant and desired to be inside. And it will help you grow your health, your relationships, your finances, your business, whatever you name it.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to that. And I will again second that. Like you said, I feel like we can go back and forth. Do you have a few hours? I'm just kidding. But it's so true. And, and I always say too, if like you said, someone might be repelled by certain things, and that's okay. It's not personal. It's all about just, again, alignment. It's about vibration. Everybody's at different levels, different vibrational levels, and then they're not your people. And that's okay, because I always say there's 7.6 billion people in the world. Rest assured, there's plenty of people to go around. We'll all find our matches in various areas of life, whether it's relationships or whether it's business, whatever it is. And it's important to remember that it's not, rejection is not personal. It just means you weren't a match. You weren't an energetic match at this particular time. So, and it's okay. We need to get comfortable with flowing with those rejections and flowing with with those mismatches, because again, that just means there's something else in line for us.
It's so true. And, we have to remember that, the universe is going to take you somewhere. And a lot of times we hear people say like, well, this happened to me, or this is my circumstance, right? Like I'm sitting here talking to you guys about having a millionaire mompreneur business and helping others do the same. But I want you to know, like, I didn't own any name brand anything until I was 25, right? And I could finally afford it on my own. I mean, I basically ate ramen noodles for 3 years of my life while working a full-time job and putting myself through school. And so I'm like, I came from nothing. And for a very long time, I blamed the universe for what I had or didn't have. Finally, when I realized that the reason I did or didn't have what I wanted was because I wasn't aligning with the universe and wasn't working with, right? Things happen to us or things happen for us. And I finally saw all those things that I despised as happening for me, because it made me realize I was uncomfortable and I was unhappy and I could choose to do something about it. And that's when I started to do it. But it took me, like I said, guys, 30 years before I finally got it. So I no longer beat myself up over that. I used to a long time ago be mad. And now I'm like, no, it was a rite of passage. I had to go through that to get to where I am today. So accept all the things that you are unhappy about with yourself even. Don't put it away. It's okay if you, as long as you choose to use it as fuel to move towards more of what you want.
Awesome. Great words of wisdom. Thank you. So we are unfortunately just about wrapped up for today. I've enjoyed every minute of our conversation and I wish we could continue it, but I would look forward to keeping in touch with you beyond this podcast. But first, before we end, I'd love to give you an opportunity to let people know how they can get in touch with you directly.
Oh, yes. So jessieharrisboughton.com is my website, but I'm most active on Instagram, same handle, Jessie Harris Boughton. You send me a DM, any thoughts, questions, do not hesitate. I will probably either video message you or voice message you back. It is my passion to try to connect with people a little bit further. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You've been such an amazing guest. Thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. I believe that time is a choice, and I'm grateful that you have carved time out of your day to be here and listen to all of the wisdom that Jessie has had to share with us today. Again, I love to invite you to join my Facebook group, liveauthentically.today/FB. And next time you're on Amazon, check out Soar and grab a copy of my recently released book. So I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.